And in 2023, this program alone lent over $27 billion to Main Street businesses.
And as of today, we've referred over 920,000 COVID EIDL loans to Treasury. That's all of the COVID EIDL loans that are in default.
Are you aware of federally licensed firearm retailers being singled out in any way by the administration?
I am laser focused on giving loans to American small businesses, and so that is what my office does and where my attention is.
Ms. Frost, what is the SBA's #1 form of capital generation?
I believe that our loan programs are powerful tools to support American small businesses.
I said capital generation. Do you guys generate any capital? Mrs. Frost, where are you getting all this money that you're so excited here today to give out to American small businesses? How much was the SBA defrauded during COVID?
The agency's best estimate on pandemic program fraud is $36 billion.
I want to welcome you all to today's hearing, which will focus on the oversight of the SBA's Office of Credit Risk Management. This office oversees the SBA's lending programs, including the flagship 7A loan program. And in 2023, this program alone lent over $27 billion to Main Street businesses. In April of last year, the SBA finalized 2 rules that make drastic changes to the program, which many members of this committee have expressed concerns over. The first rule removed the standardized underwriting procedures for 7A loans. The 7A program allows banks to offer loans to businesses that are on the edge of credit worthiness. And in order for the banks to extend these loans, the government backs between 75 to 85% of the dollar amount. Since the taxpayers are on the hook if enough of these loans go bad, it is very important that that there are guardrails in place to businesses that get these loans and have a realistic chance to pay them back. Unfortunately, the SBA removed the underwriting criteria that allowed the program to run smoothly for decades and is now allowing each individual lender to use their own standards. The SBA offered 2 different loan options to small businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Paycheck Protection Program offered forgivable loans for businesses and was administered with the help of private sector lenders. And the COVID EIDL program offered a long-term fixed-rate loan that were distributed with the SBA. That was the main difference. Now, both of these programs helped Main Street businesses stay afloat during the pandemic, but we now need to reflect on both of these programs and figure out what do we do moving forward on them. So the COVID EIDL portfolio is still sitting on the government balance sheet, which equates to over $400 billion. And when an independent consulting firm looked into what to do with this portfolio back in 2021, they said the agency should sell all or a portion of the portfolio. Now, the agency ignored this advice, and since then the loans have become less collectible and therefore less valuable to the private sector. The SBA has requested hundreds of millions of dollars from Congress each year to continue servicing these loans. So even though we've requested an analysis of the sale of the EIDL portfolio for months, we have repeatedly been stonewalled and told to just look at the PPP data. Well, we know these programs are fundamentally different, and the comparisons don't even make sense. So I'm going to ask you once again, has the agency conducted a new analysis of just the EIDL portfolio to determine if it should be sold, and when will the committee be able to see the analysis?
So the PPP and the COVID EIDL programs were both first of their kind, brand new programs. And so, of course, the agency has paid special attention to both programs in terms of finding the best way to manage these loans and responsibly move the programs forward. We are finalizing our analysis on a potential COVID EIDL sale, and we will share that with the committee when it's complete.
The SBA reran the analysis for referrals to the Treasury Department for loans for $100,000 or less. Can you explain this analysis and why the SBA changed its referral decision?
Absolutely. SBA is a data-driven organization, and we are going to make decisions based on the best data available at the time. The initial analysis that was conducted on the collectability of these small dollar loans was conducted in early 2022, actually before repayment had even started. So it was modeling, right, based on some projections. As the data came in, we actually updated that analysis 3 additional times, and the latest analysis in December of last year showed that it was likely going to be cost-effective if we took that final collection step of referring to Treasury, and so we began doing so. As of today, we've referred over 920,000 COVID EIDL loans to Treasury. That's all of the COVID EIDL loans that are in default.
Are federally licensed firearm retailers eligible for SBA loans? And if so, which type of loans are they eligible for?
And so our loan programs at SBA support all types of small businesses across all different industries, to include those who would sell firearms.
Does the SBA have any policy that applies additional eligibility requirements to federally licensed firearm retailers?
We do not. We have additional policy requirements on many different types of small businesses, for example, gas stations, but we do not have any on firearm sales.
How many loans does the SBA have with federally licensed firearm retailers, and are they separately tracked, or how do you review, monitor, and oversee those loans?
So we track by NAICS industry code, but I don't know offhand, don't have the numbers in front of me in terms of how many may be to businesses that sell firearms.
Could you maybe get that for me through the NAICS code? If you could get to my office, the number of SBA loans that exist with our mom and pop, small businesses that are federally licensed firearm dealers, that would be very helpful.
Happy to work with you on any agency requests.
And we can follow up on that. Are you aware of federally licensed firearm retailers being singled out in any way by the administration?
I am laser focused on giving loans to American small businesses, and so that is what my office does and where my attention is.
Where the $349 million that's been requested for FY25 to support oversight, how specifically that will be used, as detailed as you can provide us.
Yes, so there's two things I'd like to highlight about our budget request with regard to the kind of pandemic programs in the COVID EIDL portfolio. One would be for COVID EIDL Servicing Center, and that is to ensure that we have excellent customer service for the millions of Americans and small businesses who hold COVID EIDL loans, and that we're appropriately recouping that money through repayment and other collection activities. And the second thing I'd like to highlight is...
Can I ask the how? I want to hear the mechanics, the how. Is it human? And one of my questions is AI. Is there any intention or interest in using artificial intelligence to do the work of perhaps thousands of people to actually assess these loans and identify which ones might be fraudulent?
Yeah, the rest of another portion of the budget request will go to the OIG to kind of track down these fraudsters. We actually, during the pandemic program under the Biden-Harris administration, stood up a machine learning tool to help automatically screen all of the pandemic loans, including those done under the previous administration. And we used that really as a triage to help kind of best use our human-led resources for, human manual reviews.
And was that successful?
I believe it was very successful.
Okay, so any plans to further integrate such technology?
I'll say there are lots of ideas. We do not have any concrete plans at this time.
Okay. Anyway, so back to the use of the $349 million.
So the two things I'd like to highlight there would be the work of our COVID EIDL Servicing Center based in Fort Worth, Texas. And as I mentioned, also requesting additional support for the OIG so that they can go after these fraudsters. We have referred millions of loans to the Office of the Inspector General. They've got a big job, and they need some additional resources so that they're actually able to pursue the fraudsters and get this money back for the federal government.
Okay, appreciate that.
Ms. Frost, what is the SBA's #1 form of capital generation?
I believe that our loan programs are powerful tools to support American small businesses.
I said capital generation. Do you guys generate any capital? Mrs. Frost, where are you getting all this money that you're so excited here today to give out to American small businesses?
So one of the incredible things about our loan programs is that they're subsidy neutral. It's one of the most impressive public-private partnerships in America. And so we partner with our private sector lenders, and through fees and recoupment on our loan program, it actually operates at zero subsidy to the taxpayer. It's really an incredible partnership.
So you guys don't have a product or a service that we don't know about at the SBA that you guys are selling? Little tchotchkes, hats, T-shirts, anything like that?
No, we manage our loan programs under my office as well as the surety bond program.
So is it fair to say, Mrs. Frost, that you guys take money from the American taxpayer and then redistribute it to small businesses that you guys deem priority?
I don't think that's quite accurate. However, our direct disaster loan program does not operate at zero subsidy. That one is subsidized by the taxpayer to help small businesses across the country who've been impacted by devastating disasters.
So you guys don't generate any money, right?
No, actually, the programs generate funding through fees and then recoupment on loans.
Okay. Ms. Frost, what would you have to say to Americans that are paying their taxes, that fund these lending programs, that aren't starting small businesses, that feel like they're being left out and they don't benefit at all from them?
I think that the entire economy and the entire country benefits from a vibrant small business economy. If you're visiting restaurants, if your child goes to child care, if you kind of do recreational activities, you are benefiting from America's small businesses, and I'm incredibly proud to support them.
Yeah. Do you feel like they're benefiting from the inflation, the record high inflation that we're seeing right now, Ms. Frost?
I believe inflation's about 3% right now, and it's fallen significantly.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Frost, how much was the SBA defrauded during COVID?
The agency's best estimate on pandemic program fraud is $36 billion.
$36 billion. I've heard the numbers are quite a bit higher than that. To the tune, there was about $200 billion worth of fraud.
So some confusion there is there's a difference between what we'd consider potential fraud and then likely fraud. And the way to best think about this is it's kind of like a metal detector, right? When you first walk through a metal detector and it goes off, you need to look into it a little further, but you don't actually know if it's something dangerous or if it's just a big belt buckle. So that potential fraud is like that metal detector going off. SBA found over $400 billion in potential fraud through our automated screening. That was the first of our 4-step process. Our second step was using data analytics, including that machine learning tool I just mentioned, to refine that fraud down, or refine the potential fraud down, so we could conduct manual reviews. That was our third step. We conducted millions of manual reviews on pandemic loan programs. And then the fourth step is referring that over to OIG. So you can think about it much like the metal detector. Maybe the metal detector is going off a lot, but you have to actually investigate each and every one to get a sense of what's real and what's just a big belt buckle.
Okay. So your claim is $36 billion, is that what you said?
That's the agency's best estimate, yes.
Okay. Is there any chance that you guys will recoup any of that?
So recruitment for fraud is done through the law enforcement community. That starts with the SBA Office of the Inspector General. It includes the Secret Service, the Department of Justice, et cetera. And I know the President's budget requested additional funding for the SBA OIG for exactly that purpose, to go after the money.
Ms. Frost, you said in your testimony under the Biden-Harris administration there's never been a better time to start a small business. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that since Biden took office, we have $7 trillion added to national debt, 36 consecutive months of inflation above 3%. Producer price index is 19% increase. Consumer price index, 19.4% increase. Credit card interest rates, 20.75% increase. Household debt for every American is $18,100 increase in taxpayer. And then 100 million working age people not participating in the workforce. Do you still stand by that statement?
I do, and I think that the data supports that Americans across this country are starting businesses. The past 3 years have been the 3 highest business start years on record, and we've had over 17 million new business filings since the start of the Biden administration.
Well, what about those statistics I just read you?
I think it is incredibly difficult to be a small business owner in America, and I admire each and every one of them for the tenacity that they have to continue working, regardless of the condition, to support their communities.
Thank you, Ms. Frost. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Associate Administrator Frost, now that the rule is final and the SBA no longer publishes the franchise directory, have you seen a change in the speed of approval for franchisee lending applications?
I would need to go check with the data to look specifically at the speed for franchisees, but I can tell you that the turn times in our loan processing centers are down. They're very quick right now, and I'm very proud of the team.
Awesome. And
I'm just curious how SBA's incorporated that feedback and has been reworking the lender match tool or other systems, if there are other systems that you've been reworking to help those platforms specifically for access to capital work better.
So we relaunched Lender Match this past spring under the MySBA platform. Lender Match is an incredible tool. About 50,000 small businesses each month come into Lender Match looking for capital, and they can match with about 1,000 SBA lenders, including, as you mentioned, over, I believe, 250 or so community-based lenders who can provide those loans. We kind of serve as the matchmaker through this process. And our relaunch this spring had tremendous improvements for our smaller lenders and our community-driven lenders. Most notably, we went from what we'd consider a cold lead to a generated lead. So we ran all these small businesses through our risk mitigation framework to check for core elements of fraud and eligibility. Some of the big lenders could already do that sort of thing on their own, but now everybody gets that information.
So, but there are some that feel that the proverbial goalposts have moved, and the documentation requirements have somewhat changed. Can you commit to honoring the guarantees made to lenders who complied with the requirements laid out in statute and regulation or in the FAQs at the time the loan was made?
We will absolutely honor the guarantee for all lenders who met the requirements for the program.
making sure that small businesses know about the products that are available is also a passion of mine. We encounter numerous businesses all the time saying, I didn't know about that. What are you doing to make sure that they're aware, specifically about these products?
So my team works closely with several other teams at SBA who support getting the information out about SBA services and programs. That includes our field office. We have 68 field offices around the country. Our Office of Entrepreneurial Development, who works in close partnership with resource partners around the country to reach America's small businesses and support them through SBA programs and through all other programs available to support small businesses.
That's great.
What is the SBA's procedure for following up on inquiries made by appealing parties?
So we, of course, take all agency requests from members of Congress and other elected officials seriously. My office responds to them, and then, of course, it moves through an interagency concurrence process. So we work closely with our colleagues on any of those requests.
Okay. So the business requested a response. Senator Klobuchar requested a response, and so did Congressman Ever. No response. Can you commit today you'll work with them?
Absolutely. Happy to work on any agency requests, and if you pass along the name of that small business, I will get it to my team so that we can look into it.
Thank you very much. Now on to something, another concern that I have with the SBA's procedures. Ms. Frost, when was the last time that you talked to Patrick Kelly?
I had lunch with Patrick a few months ago.
A few months ago, explain. 2 months ago, 3 months, do you remember?
I don't remember offhand.
Couple months ago?
Yeah, maybe December or so.
Okay, December. Has Patrick Kelly spoken to you about any policy changes since he departed from the SBA?
Patrick and I don't speak regularly, but when we had lunch, we talked primarily about our families. I have a young daughter, and he has 2 children.
So you didn't talk about any policy changes since he departed from the SBA?
We talked about some of the work that we had done together, but we primarily focused on personal matters.
Okay. Has Patrick Kelly spoken to you about Funding Circle in any capacity since he departed from the SBA?
No.
Do you know what Funding Circle is?
Yes, of course. Funding Circle is one of our new SBLCs.
One of the 3 new ones, correct?
That's correct.
That he lobbied for, correct?
I'm unaware of any contact between Patrick and Funding Circle or any connection.
Has Patrick Kelly ever given you or any employee at the SBA, either political or career, any instructions or advice relating to Funding Circle receiving an SBLC license?
No.
Not at all? Not at all?
No, not at all.
I'm wondering if you could share how the updated tool will make it easier for borrowers to connect with lenders and compare rates for SBA-backed loans. Any insight on how this might be helpful for rural entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think that Lender Match, our tool to support our small business borrowers and connect them with SBA lenders, is incredibly important for our rural small businesses. As I'm sure you know, there are so many more banking deserts in this country, about 1,700 last report that I saw, and that's especially true in the rural areas of this country. But now anyone, if you can access the internet, you can go to Lender Match, you can put in some simple information about your business and the type of capital you need, and you're matched with up to there's 1,000 participating lenders who can respond to that request. Some of the improvements we just made on this platform include bringing it under the MySBA platform. So again, that's our one-stop shop. We're moving everything under that umbrella. And also making it such that all of our lenders have the same 48-hour window before they're able to kind of click into support or opt in to a lead from a small business. That means...
So I'm going to start with the banks. How does the SBA view its role in relation to private banks, especially concerning direct lending initiatives that compete with private sector loans?
I believe that our business loan programs are one of the most incredible public-private partnerships in this country, where we SBA partner with the private sector lender. They, of course, deliver the loan, and we provide a government guarantee on that loan. I know you mentioned some of the lenders you spoke with said the programs were cumbersome, a little clunky, and that's feedback we've been receiving for decades at SBA. We did take action on that last year to reduce some frictions, especially for smaller dollar loans, but I believe there's more work to be done on that as well.
So what's the best way for lenders in Utah to give feedback to the SBA? Because they're right there on the ground. They're seeing what's not working. How do we get their feedback to you so that we can improve these programs?
Any lender who's interested in learning more about SBA loans, please send them my way to my team. We do have regularly quarterly calls on our key business loan programs where folks can submit questions, so lenders can submit direct questions. We have several different email addresses for each loan program where they can submit questions, and my team holds regular webinars providing information out to the lender community.
It seems to me that the technology, and I know this has come up already, to better match potential borrowers with options, opportunities, to do that without a ton of staffing or paperwork, where you're simply making it easy using technology to help find some of these folks, but also when they search certain keywords, they find themselves on a platform, maybe the website, where they can very quickly get some questions answered and determine what opportunities there might be for them. Is that something that you envision the ULP doing? And where does this go? What's the next set of iterations, and what's that vision?
Thank you for that question. I think that Lender Match is an incredible tool to help our small businesses match, as you're mentioning, kind of using technology. Very little kind of regular SBA resources are needed here to conduct these introductions between small businesses and lenders on an ongoing basis. I think some of the ideas that you're speaking about here certainly seem worthy of additional consideration about how can we use technology to better explain our programs in an understandable way, both for the lender community and especially for the small businesses, and would be happy to work with your team as we dive into those ideas.
Mr. DeAndrea was granted $244,734 through the program on June 7, 2021. Half of the initial grant, $123,857.69, was sent directly to the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance for payment of the Roadhouse's outstanding taxes. Now, Mr. DeAndrea was even given an assessment ID of the New York State taxes paid by the U.S. Department of Treasury. But on October 28th of 2021, the funds sent to the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance were returned to the Treasury because they lacked documentation and they had no idea what it was supposed to go to. They had no idea it had to go to the Roadhouse's accrued tax debt. So, since the return of these funds, Mr. DeAndrea's business has been assessed with additional taxes and penalties associated with the original tax debt of the state of New York. To date, these taxes and penalties are at a sum of $343,700. Now, in February of 2022, my office engaged on behalf of my constituent, and in numerous letters and emails with the SBA, my staff was given excuses for missed deadlines for response. They were told that Mr. DeAndrea would receive the remaining funds in the following RRF disbursements, which never came to fruition, and worse, and half of the award was improperly distributed to New York State due to the coding error. They admitted this. Mr. Chairman, I would like to submit the email correspondence for the record. Using the words of SBA staff themselves in November of 2022, they then looked into, quote, the circumstances surrounding Treasury's offset of part of the award to the Roadhouse Grill that occurred because of delinquent taxes owed by Mr. DeAndrea's company. And they said, quote, that should not have occurred in the RRF program, but for a coding error, we have no way of correcting that at this stage in the program, unquote. So how is it that we have Mr. DeAndrea received only half of the funds he was awarded? His debts are still unsatisfied with the New York State Department of Tax and Finance. The SBA admitted that half the funds were wrongly sent to New York State due to the, quote, coding error. And now the SBA is threatening legal action on the full amount unless he perjures himself on the SBA portal and certifies that he received the $244,734, the complete amount, which he did not. So this is an error that so I guess that's my first question to you.
So the Restaurant Revitalization Fund was, of course, one of our pandemic programs, and it helped thousands of restaurants across this country find their feet. Unfortunately, that program was oversubscribed, significantly oversubscribed. And so although it was a $30 billion program, SBA got that money out in record time with record small amounts of fraud.
In this particular case, he was given the money, right? He was given half the money, but it was an error that it was sent to the state of New York. And it was sent back to you, so you should have that money. The thing is that he should be given the money that he's entitled to. Do you agree?
As I mentioned, the program was oversubscribed, and so unfortunately, we were not able to give funding to all of the eligible restaurants.
But he received the grant. He did receive the grant, right? He was part of the group that was eligible. And I guess my question is, you know, this was an error on behalf of the SBA. They admitted to it. The money was there. They gave it to the state. The state returned it. I don't know what you guys did with it, but the fact is that he's owed this money, and now you're trying to penalize him even further if he doesn't sign this form, which would be a lie. He can't sign that form because he didn't receive the total amount that he was due. And so I can understand that you don't have the specifics, perhaps, of my case in front of you, but I've been working for 4 years to try to resolve this issue. This is a small business that's going to go out of business. His whole retirement, he's going to lose everything if you guys don't work with us to address this.
So my heart goes out to the small businesses who are still struggling to recover from the pandemic. And I know that my team is prioritizing ensuring that we are doing everything we can to support them. But the Restaurant Revitalization Fund in particular is challenging because we were limited in the funds we were able to provide to eligible businesses.
Okay, well, I hope to have your commitment to try to resolve this issue.
Happy to work with you and your team on that.
Thank you very much.
There's no further business. Without objection, the committee is adjourned.